to heal one of the characters, but there must have been like a time frame or something that you had to do it in, and I didn't do it, and then I couldn't go back and do it. And if there was like something else, if I got that character, I'd be pretty upset that I missed that for no reason. Are you sure that's it? It really seems like there would be something else. Tales of Graces. Oh man, that was a great one. Having to do the extra stuff just to get, like, more definitive story. Alright, I'm okay with just this music playing. Yeah, you did. What did you think of it? Yep, that's how I felt about it too, BGG. Started out really good, tapered off, and then the extra ending thing was just kind of like... Whoop. I still enjoyed it, but it could have been a lot better. The combat was something that I was really enjoying for a while. Alright. Before we get to this, let me make a straw poll here. One thing I like to do is I'd like to have you guys rate the game as well. I can't remember how to spell it. Oh, you mean, the healer girl? Yeah, I liked her too. Alright guys, if you don't mind taking a moment to go ahead and rate the game, I'd really appreciate it. Doesn't matter how long you were here for it, how much you know about it, or anything like that, just based on what you saw about it, what you think. Alright, was this spoiler free? Yes. And it was a game that definitely made me question whether it's worth playing some games blind or not. Music rating. I'm going to go ahead and say that the music might be the best part about this game, and that's not saying much because it doesn't have very good music. It's got some okay tracks, for the most... Well, for one, Ajax was saying he was voting 10 hands down, so if he's here, he said he was definitely going to give it a 10. Anyway, the music in this game wasn't all that great. There were a few good tracks, but for the most part, you're listening to the town theme everywhere. And since there's no sense of direction, you're repeating the same 5 days over and over and over again, and doing battles and things like that. You're hearing the same 3 tracks for like 30 plus hours. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that although some of the tracks were pretty good, they're not bad or anything like that. It's super repetitive, and there's not a whole lot to it, unless there's tracks that I missed. I'm gonna go ahead and give the OST, I'm gonna give it a little credit because I didn't get to hear the themes, the Guitar Hero themes, and those are part of the OST as a whole as well. And I can't completely rate it off of how often you hear the same tracks. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 6. And I am being very, very, very nice here because of those extra additional tracks and stuff like that. So it was good, not bad. Super repetitive though. Graphics rating for the era. This was relatively new to the PS2, but I still feel like in that era and around the time that this game came out in 2001, there was games that looked better and felt better. The camera angles and stuff like that were so awful in this game. It made the actual dungeons and stuff like that so awful to try and get through because you could not tell where you were going. There are 3 camera angles in the game. Overhead, one where you're at a slight angle where you have to rotate constantly to see anything whatsoever, and an in-your-face camera that does absolutely nothing for you. It literally focuses on your face, not around you or anything like that, but on your character. So those camera angles are god-awful. Like the actual character motions and stuff like that, there were some good stuff in the story where characters are like punching people and hitting people and stuff like that, but the actual attacks and everything else as to like how they looked, were just bad. It was just, for a PS2 game with PlayStation games that came out way prior to this that looked so much better and felt so much better and played so much better, this was just, it was bad. It's probably not one of the worst games I've seen graphically. And again, some of the animations with the in-game stuff and the person playing the guitar and everything else, like, more so the funny aspects of the game where characters were kind of having dialogue and bouncing off one another and things like that, were where the graphics were the best, I feel. But it was definitely nothing good, in my opinion. One of the worst feeling and looking PS2 games I've ever had the luxury of playing, if I'm being completely honest. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 4. I really feel like there's games that were 100 times better looking than what this game was, especially around the time frame that came out and on previous systems. I feel like a game like Final Fantasy VII, which where you're walking around the game with like horse hoofs for hands and stuff like that, the game still looks really, really good in comparison to this one. But there were some good looking aspects to it. It's just the dungeon design and things like that, no. Yeah, and the attack animations and so on and stuff like that were not there or on par or anything like that. So story rating. The story is basically this. You are trapped in a loop of 5 days. Some evil king dude is doing it for reasons you don't know. You were brought there to play music for the wedding. And that's it. And you're thrown on this island and you're told to just kind of figure stuff out. And that's it. And there's really no story to it for a long time. It's more about meeting the characters and kind of learning their stories. And that's about it. And that's it for the longest time, really, until you start getting to a point where actual plot starts developing. I'd say maybe the last 5 hours of the game is where we got real plot and we understood what was going on and things like that. The concept of being caught in a loop and having to do something to get out of it is very interesting, but the throwing you in a world where there is a million things to do and a million people to talk to and a timer running constantly, every hour is a minute in the game. So if you're not getting to a certain point quick enough and figuring out where to go, who to talk to, you're not going to get anything done. Plus, you don't know what's happening in these areas until you sit in an area for hours watching what NPCs are there at what times, what days, what they do, what you can do to them, and everything else. There's literally no direction whatsoever in the game. It's just talk to people, take notes, try shit, hope it works, and that's it. That's the entire game. And that's not really a story. There's just not anything going on for it. So I want to say that the concept is definitely interesting, and I'm going to give it credit there. But I feel like this was probably one of the poorest executions on a solid storyline that I've ever experienced. It could have been really well done. If there was a little bit more direction, if there was a way of like actually keeping track of what things you did or what things were possible, if there was any direction at all, the game could have just been so much better. And this is not even counting all the crap that you have to run around through and everything else. I'm just talking the basic plot here. I'm gonna give it some points because I feel like the concept was interesting, but there was absolutely zero beneficial execution. And the game itself, near the end and stuff, it didn't even execute on that. Where it got the whole story going, it did nothing with it. There was no reason for it other than the guy was gonna die, but he was gonna die because he wanted to get the person's power. But he wanted to get the person's power for what? Because people want to become more powerful, I guess. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 2. Honestly, I felt like the story had plenty of potential, but failed miserably. Mechanics. So the mechanics are honestly straightforward turn-based combat. Really, it's your characters have particular attacks. They learn attacks by using attacks, And there's probably other stuff that I didn't understand about it because I learned some abilities by other people using attacks as well. But that's it. It's basic turn-based combat. Your skills level up as you use them, and there's nothing else really special about it. Other mechanics in the game are the ability to play music and stuff like that at certain parts. It's like a Guitar Hero thing. It did some things for me. It progressed the plot a few times, and it got me some items that I never used. What else was there? There's not really a lot else going on mechanically other than to talk about the time frame. You're in this loop of 5 days. You've got 24 hours per day. You're basically doing quests, but you're doing quests with no direction and no idea where the quest exists. It's like walking through a town where a bunch of people have invisible exclamation points above their head, and they don't even let you know that you're taking on a quest for them. So it's like, that's pretty much the entire game. That's the concept of this game. And yeah, I mean, mechanically as well, the battles were really, really slow. The attack animations were god-awful. Some battles where it only took me 3 hits to finish took something like 5 minutes on occasion because of how long the attack animations were for the enemies and how many enemies there were. You get next to no experience in a battle. You have this party level, which gets hundreds, sometimes thousands of experience at the end of a fight, but then your characters get 5. I'd literally fight fights where I'd get 3 to 5 experience, where I would nearly die from the fight because the enemies were so strong. Or I'd fight a boss and I'd maybe get 70 to 100. It just didn't make any sense to me. And levels don't really mean much in this game either. You don't really gain stats. It's more based on your... Well, you do gain stats, but very little. It's more based on the level of your abilities. Yes, it's... And again, I even went through the manual to try to understand things. Let me read this to you if I can find the skill thing, just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what I had to go off of to try to learn skills. Okay. Skills gain levels the more you use them. When skills reach a certain level, they lead to new skills. Some skills, if you keep using them, can lead to acquiring new skills over and over again. So you know what I did? I used the same skill for a long period of time and learned nothing. I used the same skill for like the first 20 hours of the game until it got to like level 10 or so, and then I started switching to other skills. I don't know. I never learned it. Nothing in the game expressed anything to me or anything like that. I just started messing around with stuff myself until one point in time in the game, I used an ability, and my main character learned an ability called Power Jump. And guess what that ability let you do? It let you teleport across the map. Anywhere where you had a map piece, you could teleport to. There was a teleport ability. I got that 30 plus hours into the game by using some random attack on another character that was in my party, and then my character's like, well, this seems like a good idea. I'm gonna do that shit now. So yeah, didn't know that it was a thing. It was another frustrating thing. Oh, and mechanically, the map pieces as well. You start the game with one map piece. It's literally a map piece of the inn that you're at. That's it. You can only see the few buildings that are around it. Every other area has its own map piece that you have to find. Some of them are in chests, some of them you have to talk to NPCs, some have to be found on particular days, certain times during the days. Sometimes you have to talk to an NPC 5 times. Sometimes you have to buy something from their shop specific so that they then decide to sell you a map piece and things like that. And the map movement, when you can actually teleport across the map, is nice. But when you can't, to get from one place to the other, it takes minutes. 10, 15 minutes. And 10-15 minutes is half a day in the game. So you can imagine how I know where I need to go, but I can't get there quick enough because I didn't do something else 100% perfectly. Yes, you missed the last boss being very, very much a pain. Also, there was no real bosses in this game until the real end. There was no dungeons in this game until the real end. It was literally running around town, doing stuff for the entire game until like the last 5 hours. Then there was these long, tedious dungeons that were 99% fighting battles. That's it. That's this game. It's just a grinding slog of nothing. There's nothing that I really feel I could take from this game mechanically and say that it would do well in another game, or there's aspects that I like about it that I'd like to see somewhere else. The time mechanic is an interesting concept, but it wasn't even handled properly in this game. There's just nothing really redeeming about this game that I can say when it comes to the mechanics at all, and because of that, I'm gonna go ahead and have to give it a 1. I cannot think of anything that I could really say that was really great about this game other than the story concept. The music was okay, and the graphics were okay as well. It worked. The mechanics worked, but they were so much of a slog that it was a pain, and it was just frustrating to play. It was just awful. I really can't say anything else about it. And I don't really have to get too much into this as well, but the grinding, I fought almost every single battle in this game until probably about the last 3 hours I started running from fights. And I started running from fights because they were taking longer to finish and gave me no experience. So this game was probably at least 40 hours of running around randomly and fighting encounters, and the rest of it was actual plot and things like that. It was that bad. I'm gonna give it the absolute lowest grinding rating I can, and that's a 1. Alright, so I'm interested to see what you guys rated it before I go ahead and say what I feel about it. Where is the straw pool? Did I close the straw pool? Nope, there it is. Alright, let me do some math. Let me get my calculator out and do some math. Alright, you guys gave it a 4 overall, if I'm rounding up. And I think that the nice 10 definitely helped there a little bit. From what I see, I agree with you about everything except for visuals. Well, you're a lot more knowledgeable of visuals than I am when it comes to the PS2 era, BGG. I didn't grow up with it. But the only thing that I can say is that I've seen worse games. I can't say that I've seen a lot of worse PS2 games. And there were aspects of it that I was okay with, and it was semi above mediocre in some ways, I guess I would say. So I think the worst rated game that I have, if we scroll up here and look through it, let's see. Yadra Union I gave a 3, and Digimon World 2 I gave a 2. That game was just a grind, and that's all that it was. And I base my ratings very, very, very heavily on how willing I am to recommend it to somebody. Well, I'm not going to give anything a 0. But yes, that's how I feel about it. And I know that you would think that I would just average my numbers together and things like that, and I would say, hey, here's my average, and that's what it comes out to. But I feel like my overall rating for a game is always based on what I'm willing to recommend to somebody. And I can't think of any reason that I would ever recommend this game to anybody. It's a very long, time-consuming game that has a unique concept that's executed incredibly poorly. The only thing that I can think from recommending this to somebody is that they're just going to get frustrated with it. Or at the very least, I would have to tell them, hey, look at a guide, because if you don't look like at a guide, you're going to be destroyed by the game. You're going to have absolutely nothing from it. Yeah, I've thought about going back and altering a lot of my scores, BGG. It's just I have a lot of things to go back and alter. There's some games that, based on playing other ones, I felt like numbers could change here and there. I don't know. I feel like as an overall experience, this game wasn't quite as bad as Digimon World 2, purely for the reason that it wasn't quite as long as that game. That game was 70 plus hours, I think. How long did it take us? 76 hours it took us to beat that game, and it was just a straight up grind, and that's it. So if you can imagine that, yes, 70 plus hours of grinding, that wasn't fun. That was song requests, basically, the game. But the game just at least had some amount of direction. You knew you were making progress every time you got through a new area. This game didn't even have that. There's no gauge on whether you're actually doing something beneficial to make the plot go any further. You're literally running around talking to people, and they're like, oh yeah, you did this thing for me. And then the game just keeps going. You really don't know. But I can't give the game... I feel like giving the game a 1 overall is just like saying it's an unplayable mess that, basically doesn't exist and breaks and freezes and all that other type of stuff. I feel like I'm reserving a 1 for that type of game that potentially exists. Like something that's just completely unplayable. And this is pretty close to unplayable in the sense that it's just that bad, in my opinion. But I still feel like it's playable. And there are going to be people out there that like it. And the music aspect to it, although it could have been incorporated a lot better, was definitely interesting. And the concept was interesting. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 2. It's really close to me to try and give it a 1, but I'm going to go ahead and give the game a 2. I definitely would never recommend this game to anyone, but it's not unplayable by any means. If someone was really excited and wanted to play it, the thing that I'd let them know more than anything is just please use a guide. Just please, for the love of God, use a guide. Replay value. I answered that one a while ago, if anyone didn't notice. I put that in there a while ago. There was a straw poll, yes. Alright, we beat this on the 30th of December. Alright, and it took us... Wow, the last 2 games are pretty long. 48 hours, 31 minutes, and 56 seconds. Well, you guys are still welcome to do the straw poll. Masa and El Tannen, you want to say what you want to rate it, and I'll do the math? But is there replay value? Based on those votes, it's still gonna be a 4. It's gonna be 3.56, so it's still gonna round up to a 4, so it doesn't change anything. Yeah, I still like to see what people think, though, because for me, it's more interesting. Change your vote to a 1. Alright, guys, now I know it's what time you guys have been waiting for. You're tired of listening to me talk about a game that was bad and absolutely not worth playing. It is raffle time. If you are new to the stream, this is how I decide what game I play next. If you want to be a part of it, all you have to do is type in the word raffle, and it enters you in a chance to win and pick the next game. It's seriously as simple as that. There is a giant list of games to pick from. If you are a JRPG fan, there is a game on there that you could probably be interested in watching me play. So go ahead and take a moment. Type the word raffle. Even if you're a person that lurks, I highly recommend just typing in that word once and taking a chance. Everyone has an equal opportunity to win. There is no limit to the amount of times that you can win either. There are people that have won multiple times. We've got way too many games and way too few people entering for me to say everyone can only win once. Oh, look at Nakurdi. He's here. He shows up out of nowhere. Rip Nakurdi wins. It's been a while since Nakurdi's won, hasn't it been? Yeah, like 20 games. That's a while. BGG, you won too. You won pretty early. Once. Once is more than some people. Yeah, Shining in the Darkness was the last game that he picked, wasn't it? Oh no. Crap, I passed it. He did win relatively recently, I guess. Yeah, that's true too. A lot of the people that won earlier raffles and stuff, we had maybe 5+ people on occasion entering, so there was a very, very likely chance that people are gonna win. I think the most we've ever had is like 38. Alright guys, I'll give you about another minute. Again, all you have to do is type in the word raffle. It enters you in a chance to win and pick the next game that I play. We are going to play every JRPG, so if it is a game that you played and a game that you enjoyed, or a game you want to see somebody play, give it a shot. Take a chance. You have just as much of a chance to win as everybody else. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. I forget to mention a lot, actually. Nightbot's also entered in a chance to win. If he wins, I'm going to put 5 games on a list, and then all of you get to vote on the game that I play. So, that happens as well. I should really have that list ready for if it happens. It's very unlikely that it happens, but it could happen. Alright, game 72. So based on the pace that we're going now, by this time next year, we might be at 100 games, guys. It's a long, long way away. Yeah, Nightbot has the same chance that you guys have, but there's a lot more of you than there is Nightbot. Making sure everybody's marked as eligible that said it. Da, 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 da. Is everybody in here? It looks like everybody's in here. That said raffle. Alright guys, thank you for sticking with me tonight. It was a longer stream. I really appreciate it. Good luck, everyone. Keep your fingers crossed. I feel like the need to show you guys what this looks like, so you don't think I'm just trolling you. This is everyone that was eligible to win. This is everybody that was on the list. Everyone's there, okay? Absolutely everybody is there. Oh, man. Oh, jeez. You summoned him and he won? Did he win the last raffle? No. Fidel Infidel won the last raffle. It is his account. Go ahead. Travis picked Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity. WTF? Yeah, that's a lot of subtitles. I didn't even know it was a thing until recently. Alright, so we know who won. You don't see Dragon Quest IV? It might be under a different name. Let me check. Let's see the alphabetical order list. Yeah, Dragon Quest IV is on here, but it's listed as IV. So it is on there. But if you do see games that you don't think are on the list, you can jump into the Discord, and there is a list suggested tab where you can let me know games that I should potentially look up to add. There's already stuff in there that I have to work on. Unfortunately, I spend most of my extra time streaming, so I don't have a lot of time to keep the list as up to date as I would like to. But I do try to find the time to research some games and add it as I can. The actual number of games is slightly higher on than what I have on the layout that I was showing you guys. What are we at now? 756 is what we're at. So what were we at before? 700 plus games, 739, 738 or something I think we were at originally. So we've added quite a few games as it is. But eventually we'll get to a point where it's only adding the newer games. 738, okay. That sounded about right. Yep. Well, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people are focused on me completing the list and being done with it as a challenge and everything else. But the way that I feel about it is, if I'm going to keep streaming for a very long, extended period of time, maybe eventually we'll catch up to the list, but we'll still be playing new games as they come out. I'm not going to lose a love for RPGs and the way that they can tell stories and things like that. Yeah, a lot of newer RPGs aren't quite as long though either. Like, whereas we played a couple close to 50+ hour games recently, a lot of them are 20 hours, less than 30 hours. You figure at the pace that I go, that's a week of streaming. Yeah, a little at a time. We're making way. And we've played some longer ones this year. We played 2 Dragon Quest games. Was Persona this year? Or was that last year? That was last year. Alright. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we played a lot of longer games this year, whereas we played shorter ones last year. We didn't play a whole lot of short games this year, actually. That's probably the shortest. 13 hours, was it? Yeah, 13 hours. What was that? The original Dragon Quest. He says he wants me to play Kingdom Hearts. Like the first one? Or is there a specific one? Aye, first one? Okay. Kingdom Hearts it is. It's definitely not my first time played. And that will be our introduction to the Kingdom Hearts series, just in time for the newer one coming out as well. I have played all the Kingdom Hearts games on stream before, so some of you might have already seen them. But that'll be nice. We'll start that series off as well. Alright, so next is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Gates to Infinity. We'll probably try to start that for a little bit tomorrow. Not sure how long I'll stream. I'm just happy that I beat this game. And then the game after that's Kingdom Hearts, and that'll probably be next year that we start that one. Alright guys, there's one more thing we do whenever we finish a game. We find somebody to raid, and we raid them with a message that comes from the game that we just played. So anybody that can think of a really good message to send from this awful, awful game, I'd really appreciate it. And I'd really appreciate it if you stuck around and helped out with the raid as well. It's always nice to show someone else a little bit of love. I mean, I was raided by BGG tonight. It's very, very supportive, and it's just a nice way to show some support. So let's do that. Let's see who's available to raid. Doug and Alex was here. You know, Doug and Alex is probably the biggest meme that came out of this, considering it was some of the first 2 enemies that we actually saw in the game. Yeah, I think Doug and Alex was here is pretty funny. This is Raid Inception. And you know what? Because it came from BGG, let's go ahead and send you guys over to Ryu Quizzicatle. You should know him. He's also a Rip Runner. I'm sure you know him a lot better than you know me. So get your Doug and Alex was here's ready. And go by and say hi. Spam him, guys. Let's take over his chat for a little bit. How's that sound? Alright, guys. Thanks again. Have a great night. Have a great start to your weekend. And have a great holiday. I hope to see you tomorrow.